Looking at the Dallas Cowboys right now, I'm starting to think we've all been approaching this thing completely wrong. We're sitting here talking about offense, 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 but these playoff games are showing us something totally different. And if Jerry Jones and the front office don't wake up to this reality, we're going to be stuck in the same cycle we've been in for years. What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the America's team. So, I've been watching these wildcard games, and it's making me rethink everything about how we need to build this roster. I used to think that if we could just get the defense to be serviceable, let the offense carry us, we'd be fine. But watching these playoff games, that mindset is dead wrong. Once you get into the postseason and it's only 8 teams left, the film study gets intense. These teams know your tendencies inside and out. You can have the best offense in the world, but if you can't play defense, you're going home early. Look at what Houston did last night. Their defense was absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, they've been doing it all year, but in the playoffs, it hits different. Even Carolina got 30-something points scored on them, but they still played solid defense when it mattered. It made me sit back and really think about where our offense would stack up against these teams in January. Can we put up the same numbers we did in the regular season when we're facing playoff-caliber defenses? I think we can, but here's the thing. People lose their minds when the Cowboys score 21 points. They act like the sky is falling. But New England just beat the Chargers 16-3, and everyone's talking about what a beatdown that was. The Bills won with 27, the Patriots with 16, the 49ers with 23. If those were Cowboys scores, everyone would be calling it a disaster. But when you win the playoff game, none of that matters. That's why I'm saying we need to go absolutely crazy on defense. Not just make it serviceable, make it elite. The Texans did exactly that in free agency. Their defense was decent last year, but then they signed Danielle Hunter, Sheldon Rankins, Azeez Al-Shaair, and those guys, and boom, they became an absolute force. I want the Cowboys to do the same thing, build the best defense we possibly can. I'm not saying I'm completely rethinking my draft strategy or anything, but watching these other teams squeak out wins on the back of their defense, that's opening my eyes. The 21st best defense in the league isn't going to cut it in the playoffs. We need to be top 5, top 3 even. So that brings me to the interview process. We're going through all these defensive coordinator interviews right now, and I'm happy the process is actually happening. But if I could sit in that room, I've got one main question I'd ask every single one of these candidates. Do you think the players we had on the roster last year are talented enough to run a proper defense? And I'd want complete honesty. No sugarcoating, no trying to say the right thing to get the job. I want to know what you really think about Maris Leafoul. What kind of player do you think he can be? Watch some film on us before you come in here, because we're going to ask about the current personnel. Yeah, we'll make some moves and get you some players, but a lot of these guys are already on the roster.
What do you think about Travon McCoy from this past year? What would you have done differently to help him out? Because here's one of the biggest mysteries we're never going to have the luxury of knowing. How good were those guys really? Dante Fowler in his last year as a Cowboy, man, I wish we could have gotten him more snaps. He goes to Washington and becomes a double-digit sack guy. What happened there? Maris Leafoul looks like he's got a bright future, seems smart, picks things up easily, and the biggest issue with our defense seemed to be dumb players making dumb mistakes. So if one staff thinks he's so smart and picks everything up easy, what happened with your scheme? If you're a linebacker guy like Zach Orr might be, what do you think about the Leafoul kid? Watch some of his rookie tape. What about Revel? This Kalen Carson kid was so aggressive in college. Why did he look timid with us? What's going on? Those are the questions I need answered. If you had this roster last year, what do you think the problem was? And I'd tell them straight up, be honest. I don't want you lying like Mike McCarthy, telling Mr. Jones you'll make everyone great. I want real talk. Is it the players or is it the scheme? That's what it comes down to. And if you immediately tell me it's just the scheme, I might not believe you, because there were some guys who just didn't play at a high enough level. If you tell me the scheme was bad, expand on that. Tell me why. Tell me about my players, because I need to be self-reflective here. Did I hire the wrong guy in Eberflus, or am I not getting the coaches good enough players? If some coordinator comes in and says straight up, I don't think your players are good enough, that would almost be suicide in the meeting. But you know what? I'd respect the honesty, because then Jerry, Steven, Will, and Schottenheimer could actually look at it and ask themselves if maybe we like our players too much. There were times when players just didn't tackle, didn't support, didn't cover, didn't fill gaps. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. I'd respect a guy who came in and said, I'll run a similar scheme, I'll just teach it differently. I'll put guys in different places. Because Schottenheimer doesn't sound like the scheme was the issue. It's more about teaching and getting the point across, the details. But if every single coordinator comes in here and tells me it's the scheme, I'm thinking they're just telling me what I want to hear. I'd actually respect the guy who says our personnel isn't good enough and we're asking guys to do stuff they can't do. That's probably why they're talking to Aaron Whitecotton. Give him 3 minutes to be completely honest about Eberflus and what really happened. Just lay it all out there. Because here's the thing, they kicked Flus up to the box with 3 games left in the season. Whitecotton was on the sidelines. Things didn't really get any better. Maybe it was what it was. The defensive line didn't get any better with Whitecotton either. But what if Whitecotton's argument is solid? What if he says, man, I got 5 sacks out of James Houston. I made a run defender out of Donovan Ezarco. Jadeveon Clowney had a better year than he's had in the past 2 years in only 7 games. What if his argument is that we might have had better pressure if we had better guys? Our pass rush group was Donovan Ezarco, Jadeveon Clowney, and Quinnen Williams. Why didn't Whitecotton step up and tell management we needed to keep Micah Parsons? Jerry's throwing this blanket on everyone talking about consensus. That's what I hate about this team. It's always consensus. Somebody needed to step up and say, how are we going to rush the passer here? With all due respect, Aaron Whitecotton didn't trade away Micah Parsons. If Parsons was here, Ezarco might have been a better pass rusher. When Quinn got here, Osa Odigizua got better. Real talk. So maybe these guys did get better, they were just starting from such a low point. Maybe it's our fault too. Maybe we thought too highly of Ezarco. When you start watching the edges in this draft, there are guys that Ezarco is just as good as. But I'm disappointed that when he was getting pressure against tackles in the ACC who were better than what he faced this year, he couldn't get it done. That bothers me. So, what do you guys think? Share your thoughts in the comments section.